Coqui-san, welcome back for another round of Warhammer Research. How y'all doing? I looked at some of the videos of Matt Ward, and some of the videos were not very good in terms of size, length. One of them was a TTS. Another was just a guy playing video games, like showing himself just playing them with video games. Yeah, finding a Matt Ward video was very, very difficult, and so unfortunately, they were just not good. Now, why am I not saying that? Because I had been talking about wanting to look for Matt Ward. Wanted to get a little bit more on him, but unfortunately, I can't find a good video out there. A good, decent looking video, a good video. You know what I mean? So we're gonna just move along with the Necron Research, and wrap this up so we can move on to the next faction. So today we're heading back over to KrakDuk. KrakDuk. I can never get it pronounced because he didn't put a C there. This is Every Necron Character Explained, or at least the important ones. Warhammer 40k lore. This is a very, very good channel. Links are down below for KrakDuk. We'll find out what these characters are and what they're all about outside of Trazen. Trazen, such a cool character. I gotta say, the man just likes to collect things. All right, so get your notes ready for my post research thoughts. This is call to action: comment, like, subscribe, follow, hit the notification button, and let us begin the research.
Hi friends, despite being a faction of half-dead, senile robot people, the Necrons have some very interesting characters. So, today, I'll cover the basics of the most iconic Necron characters, aka the ones important enough to have gotten models. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to watch my Necron faction video for some more background. But without further ado, let's get right Necron with it and talk about these characters. First off, let's talk about one of the greatest, if not the greatest, strategic minds in all of 40k, and perhaps one of the most threatening presence in the entire universe. Imhotep the Stormlord was a legendary general in the War in Heaven, and is dead set, pun intended, on unifying the Necrons and reclaiming the galaxy. The Stormlord reawakened in the modern timeline after a civil war broke out on his tomb world of Mandroga. The Pharaon of Mandroga had died during the Great Sleep, so the awakened nobles did what most do when an old man dies, and violently fought each other for the Pharaon's stuff and position.
As always.
After a bit of a bone bash, one noble had the brilliant idea to wake up Imhotep the Stormlord in order to enlist the legendary Nemesis to his side. And this would have been a great idea, if not for Imhotep thinking that all the surviving nobles were dumb doo-doo heads and decided to take over Mandroga for himself. So, the master strategist formed his own army and easily took over the Tomb World. Once he established his rule, he began his conquest of the galaxy. As I've said before, Imhotep is perhaps the greatest strategist in the entire setting. He coordinates his vast military campaign across many star systems, and he's always 4 million steps ahead of his enemies. He is a being of supreme logic, and he learns exactly how his enemies think. These two in tandem make it almost appear as though he could predict the future, since his plans almost always go exactly how he anticipated. It is said that the Stormlord has never truly lost a war. The only battles he has lost were the ones that were outside of his master plans, or ones that were mere distractions and ploys as per his master plan. Oh, and also against the orcs. Imhotep absolutely hates orcs, even more so than the other lesser species he wants to crush. Remember how he said he's a being of supreme logic? Well, to logic, orcs say, logic? More like, you make me sick with your cringe, metal man. So, the orcs are literally too stupid for Imhotep to comprehend, and they're the only ones who can regularly best him.
Yes!
Also, by power
Go
scale
orcs!
Logic, this would mean that the orcs are the greatest strategists in the entire setting. So, typical green W. But along with Imatek's immense armies, he also utilizes fear tactics to force his enemies to surrender before any battle has ever begun. The Stormlord knows that the Necron forces are finite and outnumbered by the other races, so along with his undying legions, he often conjures great storms and releases blood-swarm nanoscarabs and flayed ones to sow fear into all who oppose him. Also, one funny bit showing how scary Imatek is that one time he shivered an Imperial Governor's timbers so hard that the dude had a heart attack and literally died just from seeing the Stormlord. They weren't even fighting. He just saw him at dinner and said, "Abracadac, I cast self-heart attack." And if you want to know why Imatek was at dinner with some random governor, well, stay tuned. We'll get to that later. But finally, the Stormlord's only real weakness is that he's very prideful, and after beating his enemies, he likes to flex on them by teleporting before them and engaging them in a duel. After winning, he doesn't kill his opponents since he thinks it's funnier and more pathetic for them to live with their defeat. However, he does take a little souvenir from those he bested in the form of a severed hand.
Oh, wow.
One notable opponent he bested was High Marshal Helbrecht of the Black Templars. Imatek was one of the few characters Helbrecht ever lost to in combat, and he was left humiliated. You know, until he decided that losing a hand was actually pretty cool since Daddy Dorn also lost a hand, so the Emperor must have willed it that way. The few other characters who can match Imatek's tactical genius and martial prowess are the Silent King, Brendan Fraser, and Nemesis Zandrek. Speaking of Zandrek, let's go to him now.
Imatek the Stormlord. What a name. The Stormlord. That is epic. Oh, man. And he only lost to the orcs, which is awesome. Awesome. Go orcs. all because the being logical, he couldn't comprehend their illogical. That means that when he saw them freaking using weapons and such in strange ways, he's like, how is that possible? And he just loves hands, huh? He loves to take people's hands. If nobody's gonna shake his hand, then he'll take your hand. What a philosophy to live by. He's that epic name, man, Stormlord. I really like his style. United the everyone together and just not only took over all the Necrons, but now just starting to take over the whole galaxy. Let's see our next guy.
Nemesis Zandrek is another one of the greatest generals of the Necron race and works under Imatek in the Sautek Dynasty. Sautek Dynasty? More like Sock on D's nuts, is-t. Now, Nemesis Zandrek is a funny fellow since he's a bit of a schizo. During the Great Sleep, he sustained brain damage, and now he believes that he's still a Necron tier rather than the soulless robot man Necron that he really is. In addition to this, he believes that his opponents, be it Imperial, Xeno, Chaos, or whatever else, are all fellow Necron tier rebelling against his rule. This madness makes him essentially a robot space skeleton Don Quixote. Since he believes in battling fellow Necron tier, he actually abides by the ancient rules of war and ensures that he's fighting honorably. Unlike his boss Imatek, he avoids committing space war crimes, doesn't use dishonorable units like death marks and flayed ones, and he tries to capture his enemy leaders and treat them to a feast to celebrate his own victory. And this can lead to some funny moments where Zandrek's royal court is pissed off that he brought a random alien to the dinner table and is treating it like a friend that he beat in a weekend golf match. The governor I mentioned earlier was actually one such opponent that Zandrek invited to a feast. And since Zandrek is an actual crazy person, many other Necron lords think he's annoying and want to usurp his position. However, even though Zandrek is an actual crazy insane person, he's also an insanely good strategist. So, defeating him is no easy task for rival Necrons or other factions. He is brutally efficient in warfare and is one of the greatest threats in the galaxy as Imatek's Nemesis. For example, this literal madman completely annihilated a third of the Imperial Fist and a crap ton of Catachan in a single battle. And this was after he gave the Imperials an entire month to prepare or retreat as per Necron tier honor code and otherwise hindered himself by said code. In addition to his strategic genius making it hard to overthrow him, he also has his stalwart bodyguard, Vargard Oberyn. Oberyn knows that Zandrek is insane, but he's extremely loyal, and he tries his darndest to make sure Zandrek's delusions are appeased and that he fixes any issues they may cause. He executes Xandrek's alien prisoners as well as any rival lords that threaten Xandrek. Oberyn's biggest strengths are his sharp political skills and his skills with sharp pole arms.
Makes
He is
sense.
also one of the most skilled duelists of the Necrons, and his combat skills in conjunction with Xandrek's tactical might make them a powerful force. Their friendship is also just very wholesome since Oberyn and Xandrek both think the other one is delusional, but they both try to make sure that the other is happy in their conquests. Speaking of wholesome things, I think that it would be very cool and wholesome if you were to join my epic Patreon. Apparently a lot of people didn't know that I had a Patreon, so I thought I'd just mention it here if anyone wanted to help support the channel a little bit more. I post some more freeform casual videos from time to time, and I do drawing time lapses, and you also get a cool role in my Discord. The Discord that a lot of people apparently didn't know about either. But anyways, back to the
about
video.
that one. Okay. Yeah, Xandrek. So far, the Necrons have proven to be pretty cool too. Just like the orcs. They got a nice variety of personalities so far. I mean, there's still more to go, but so far, just with Imhotep and Xandrek, their unique personalities is pretty awesome. I was expecting them to be very mindless automatons, but it looks like they how you say, the rewrites, throughout the years, their revisions seems to have paid off, you know, in terms of having some good characters here. Xandrek and Vargard sound pretty hilarious. Lives with an honor code. I mean, almost like they're, I mean, how you say, they're supposed, I may want to save that for after this, but I can, but Warhammer is legitimately impressive. I'll explain why.
Another interesting tidbit from the Necron book Severed is that Xandrek truly believes that the Necrons still have souls because of his powerful friendship with Oberyn. Their real souls were truly the friends we made along the way. But moving on to another iconic pair, we've got everyone's favorite old men, Trazyn the Infinite and Orican the Diviner. Unlike other Necron characters, Trazyn and Orican aren't really known for their combat prowess.
No.
In fact,
they're
kind of nerds.
Yeah.
So let's start with Mr. the Infinite. In the ancient times, Trazyn was a chief archivist of the Necron tier, and he awoke from the Great Sleep a little bit early. Instead of the approximately 60 million years that many Necrons were awakening from the sleep, Trazyn awoke after approximately 60 million years. After waking up, Trazyn continued to add to his collection on Solemnes. He goes around the galaxy kidnapping specimens he deems interesting and worthy of preservation, which is basically all the main factions of 40k, and then some wacky aliens here and there. Some notable tidbits are that he steals from fellow dynasties since he doesn't even trust other Necrons to preserve history like he can. And then he also found humanity to be really boring until the Horus Heresy, and after witnessing the drama of the war, he began collecting Space Marines, Guardsmen regiments, and Imperial heroes. He's just like us for real. And after gathering
collect
his
them all like
specimens and
Pokemon.
artifacts, Trazyn often puts them in stasis fields or turns them into hardlight holograms and arranges them into dioramas depicting interesting and iconic moments in history. Trazyn is really us, for real. The reason that Trazyn obsessively collects things is because he knows that without having a true purpose in life, immortals such as the Necrons would naturally go insane. So, he sets out to fill his vast galaxy.
It's almost like a
cool
critique
stuff.
collector's
But gathering artifacts is risky
there.
business in a galaxy such as 40k, and Trazyn isn't much of a fighter. I mean, he's still a pretty insano fighter considering he's a Necron lord, but compared to other Necrons, he's not very notable in the art of combat. Luckily for him, though, he has a handy ability to project his consciousness into other Necrons and contort them into his image if he so desires. Or he could just simply leave them as is in order to sneak around and trick people. This unique ability allows Trazyn to gather his artifacts worry-free, since if his host body is injured or killed, he can just go back to his true body. In addition,
hacks,
it allows
man.
him to do little
Cheat
pranky
code.
pranks on his rival Orican and other folk. Speaking of his little pranky pranks though, Trazyn is quite cunning, sassy, and a bit of a trickster. He's also a pretty cool dude and actually has a lot of funny moments even outside of the Infinite and the Divine. Let me just share this one moment that gets talked about a lot because it's funny and it just shows how cunning Trazyn truly is. In the Infinite and the Divine, Trajan's in a little court battle with Orkin, and Orkin is secretly using time travel to cheat the trial. However, Trajan is so clever that no matter what, Orkin could not win it, even though he had literal actual time travel. Literally peak. I know it gets said a lot, but if you haven't read The Infinite and the Divine, you really should. That moment is just a minor spoiler in the beginning, so rest assured, there's a lot more in the novel. But back to Trajan's special little powers, Trajan's little mind swap ability is also useful for hiding his identity, since he has a reputation for stealing valuable artifacts and kidnapping important figures from Necrons and other species. So he's kind of shunned from society due to his wacky little hobby. Wow, Trajan really is us. For real, for real. Also, according to Trajan, he was actually friends with Gilliman. If only we could be alike in that way and not the nerd who no one likes way. But on to his rival Orkin. Orkin the Diviner was the royal astrologer of the Silent King's royal court. He was the greatest astromancer around, being able to accurately predict the future by observing the stars. Which means Orkin is basically a 40k TikTok astrology girl. Except, you know, his powers actually work. But
wow!
Orkin was the only Necron tier court member to oppose the Deceiver's offer, and he was forced to undergo the biotransference. They probably should have listened to the one dude who could see the future, but sometimes we all make silly little mistakes that damn our entire species for millennia, so it's okay. Anyways though, Orkin is one of the best future seers in the setting, and he uses his abilities to defeat his enemies, sell his services to other Necrons, and circumvent things that he deems undesirable. And if Orkin ever gets a prediction wrong, he usually just uses his unique chronomancy powers to go back in time and fix things so that he was right all along. And just like his bestie Trajan, Orkin is disliked by most other Necrons. Since Orkin's still bitter over being ignored despite being 100% correct, he's quite smug and he mocks his peers no matter how much they outrank him or how likely they are to shoot his face off. Other than just naturally being a bit of a silly fella, Orkin knows that no one would truly try to kill him, both because of his excellent divination skills and because of his excellent divination skills. As in, his skills are too valuable for the former example, and for the latter example, he uses his skills to predict people not killing him. Orkin's true goal, however, is to get specific artifacts and arrange the galaxy's events to allow himself to ascend beyond his metal form into a Catan-like being of pure energy. Unlike many other Necrons, he isn't preoccupied with the past, other than being salty that no one listened to him. So, he doesn't really seek to reverse the biotransference, rather, he wants to ascend beyond it. This philosophy of only caring about the future is the main driver of his rivalry with Trajan, since Orkin doesn't really care about the past.
Okay, so he's the opposite of Trajan.
And he also believes Trajan to be short-sighted. This obviously comes in odds with Trajan's philosophies of preservation. So basically, they're both little weirdos who no one likes, but unfortunately for them, they have conflicting brands of autism, so they also hate each other. Traveling to the next character.
I need to know, comment down below, is The Infinite and the Divine a comedy? I must know. Or is there some level of humor? I really want to get my hands on that book now. I really do. Especially if it's involving Trajan and Orkin directly, if it's about the two of them. I would like to read that if it's a especially if it's got comedic elements or if it's a straight comedy. I want to read that. That's freaking hilarious, hands down. Two nerd robots trying to outwit each other. I would like to read that. Honestly, I want to find it. I want to read it. That sounds pretty fun. So far the Necrons are proving fun. KrakDuk is really does a great job, making this a fun thing. Orkin was the first one, and he said, "Stop, don't do it." And not only did they not listen to him, but they made him the first one to go through the process. That's freaking messed up. They were like, he was the first one to get roboticized. They were like, get in the chamber. Don't pull the trigger, Robotnik. We don't want to listen to him. What's also interesting is about him is that he's more looking to the future, but instead of trying to look for the cure and become flesh again, he's like, nah, I want to achieve godhood. If I made it this far, I want godhood. I don't blame him.
We have Anrakir the Traveler.
Anrakir.
And with him, we're back to the proper warriors. Anrakir leads a powerful fleet across the stars, reawakening tomb worlds in order to unite the Necron. Unlike most Necrons, Anrakir woke up without even an ounce of robot space dementia, and he had the bonus of awakening locked in with grand purpose. Since the Silent King was gone from the universe, Anrakir took it upon himself to unite the Necron race as they were before the Great Sleep. He is one of the most zealous Necrons, and he works hard to accomplish his ultimate purpose. Also, unlike Imhotep, Anrakir has no malice towards the so-called lesser races, seeing them as mere pests infesting the Necrons' rightful territory.
He's zealous.
And he tries to avoid military conflict when possible, since his forces are relatively small, and he doesn't want to risk more of his people being lost. But this doesn't mean he's a slouch in battle. Anrakir has a unique ability to upload his consciousness into enemy machines, so he can turn his foes' weaponry against themselves for the ultimate hitting yourself moment as the ship's super heavy Nova cannon does a 180 and blasts itself in its stupid ship face. But beyond this, Anrakir is also a very scary presence on the battlefield, as he is a great warrior with his war scythe and tachyon arrow. The tachyon arrow being especially nutty, as it's
what is the size difference?
Titans and fell great mountains. And if all else fails, he also has a legion of his ultra elite immortals called the Prerian Eternals. Next up, we have something a little...
Okay, I know that was short, but dang. Is that for real? Like, he could blow up things 20 times his size? I mean, that was a scale there. That was a crazy scale. His freaking little blaster just turned it into dust. Oh my gosh, is that legit? Is that for real? Because that's hilarious.
A bit different with this very unique character. We have Illuminor Caesarus.
Illuminor.
Unlike most other Necrons, Caesarus cares little for glory or conquest. Rather, he seeks to fully understand life.
Oh.
And by understanding life, I don't mean the silly hippie nonsense
of,
oh yes, I'm one with life. No, he believes that he can achieve the pinnacle of the biotransference in order to become a god. And in order to be a god, he must fully understand life, of course. So, he hunts down and dissects all sorts of life forms in order to augment himself into the ultimate being. Caesarus is also probably the most monstrous of the Necron characters, as he stalks the battlefields, mercilessly killing and gathering subjects. He heavily augments his destroyer body and uses his findings to create a more optimal form. For example, he modeled his armor off of Ambuls, and he uses spider-like ocular arrangements. And he probably modeled his wee-wee after mine. Am I right, fellas? Also, funny little moment, the Silent King got Caesarus to work with him to reverse the biotransference, even though Caesarus is like the #1 biotransference fanboy, since the Silent King reasoned that Caesarus can never understand life, since, you know, he's not truly living, on account of, you know, being a metal space skeleton. But finally, let's move on to the Silent...
the Silent King himself, yes. Yeah, Illuminor doesn't have much history, huh? They didn't really, yeah, another one that just went by quickly. I guess it was pretty much enough that he's just one that wants to, like Orkin wants to transcend, but unlike Orkin, he wants to dissect living beings and experiment on them to find out how to exceed. A little bit of an overlap. Pretty sort of straightforward. So not much. There's not much for me to say then. If there wasn't much for KrakDuk to say.
King. I covered most of his backstory in my previous Necron video, so go check that out. But basically, he's literally the strongest dude in 40k. Yeah. He made a deal with the Deceiver, led the Necrons in the War in Heaven, enslaved the Catan, initiated the Great Sleep after relinquishing the command protocol,
turned them into
and
a
then
battery.
He self-exiled himself to explore the universe. In the current times, he returned to 40k to help against the Tyranid menace since they threaten his plans and species. So, he strives to unite the Necrons, and he hopes to reverse the biotransference since he still feels a bit guilty for that one. In addition, he's also been building Blackstone pylons in the Pariah Nexus in hopes of weakening Chaos for a Necron takeover. However, despite his immense power and influence, the Silent King's ambitions are not without opposition. Notably, Imhotep the Stormlord sees Sazerac as a failure and unworthy of leading the Necrons. Imhotep feels the Silent King both failed in ancient times and is now foolishly trying to reverse the biotransference that made the Necrons the powerful race they are today. Both Imhotep and the Silent King are gathering forces to their side to further their goals and at times have clashed with each other. Some other fun Silent King facts are that he was apparently friends with Sanguinius and sometimes wears a mask of him. It's also hinted that the Silent King has some sort of mind control slash memory erasing slash submission aura due to lingering command protocols. And finally, he has an ultra elite lynch guard that he augmented to be warrior philosophers made of gold and blackstone.
Nice.
Badass. Well, with that, those are the basics on the most notable Necron characters. Necrons have some of the most powerful and threatening characters in the entire setting, and it's quite interesting how almost all of them have their own agendas that sometimes clash with each other. I think that it's also a good way to explain why the Necrons don't just absolutely stomp the other factions. I also hope that more Necron characters get the Trajan and Orkin treatment with the Great Book. There are also some other interesting characters that I didn't cover, like Old Ticks or other random minor characters, but they don't have a model, so who even cares about them? In the future, I'm also considering doing more in-depth videos for single characters, Necrons or otherwise, so let me know if you think that might be interesting. But anyways, thank you everyone for watching. Let me know your favorite Necron character and why they're your favorite, or let me know some cool moments I might have skipped in this video.
I think the Necrons are going to be my second favorite behind the orcs in Warhammer. I really love not just only so much the history of the Necrons. I mean, the history is very fascinating. You know, how they started off, where they started off from the beginning as a proof concept to what they are now. But I love how they're not inherently evil. Like, they're not good guys. I mean, they're still doing nasty stuff, but they seem to be the most by comparison neutral good. I guess that's the you know, saying that they're neutral good. They'll still they're still gonna do you know Warhammer things like you know like the Tyranids and you know like be a-holes, because you know every faction is supposed to be an a-hole, every single race is supposed to be an a-hole, but here these guys are more or less still got some they still have some who are good, but they also got some bad. That's why I say they're a little bit more like regular. I think they're the most normal out of all of them when you think about it. You know, the Silent King really has remorse for what he did to his people, and he's trying to rectify it. Trajan wants to preserve the past. It makes perfect sense. And Orkin wants to secure a future. You know, so to be able to. That's why I should really read this book, because I'm not really getting the whole of Orkins and the others. But from what I'm getting in initial impressions is that Orkin is like, screw it, we made it this far, let's go the distance and become gods, and you know, put value into what has been done to us here. Then we got who is it? Illuminor? No. Well, Illuminor is the most evil out of all of them. Emrakir. Emrakir still has a sense of honor. He still has a sense of honor. He doesn't like, you know, treating the soldiers like cannon fodder, which also keep in mind they can't procreate, so you know you do not want to really lose your army. He values his soldiers. I find them to be the most fascinating. You know, where the orcs, I love the funness, and that's why they're still my number one. You know what I'm saying? They're all about the fun and everything. The Necrons are the most fascinating because they're not inherently evil. They're suffering for the most part, and those who are not suffering are trying to solve an issue. You know, the Silent King is trying to solve the biotransference issue. Orkin is trying to solve the. They're all trying to solve the issue. You know what I'm saying? They're all trying to solve the issue, while at the same time, you know, trying to reclaim, you know, the things that they lost. And aside from Illuminor and a few others who are pure evil, you know, I mean, they're snatching up people and murdering them, doing experiments. Yeah, I would say they're the most fascinating. They're the most fascinating so far. You know, keep in mind that I've only done gone through the orcs and the Tyranids here, so I'm about to reach the you know, I'm getting closer to the next faction, that next faction, and really see exactly just how fanatical they could be. Yeah, there's no fanaticism out of these guys here. You know, I mean, their brains were, many of them had their brains fried, unless you're Emmerich here, who managed to retain everything and survive that. Yeah, the revamp. It looks like the revamp really did a good job. You know what I'm saying? The revamp really did a good job, and they proved to be very well rounded. You know, very three dimensional. They're not stuck on just one thing. You know what I'm saying? That they're not flat. They're not flat characters. They're not flat. They're not a flat faction. You know, they yeah, yeah. They're pretty good. I gotta say, both decisions. And it's got some positive results. No doubt. No doubt. But I really want to find this book. I hope I can find this. I would like to read this. So yeah, yeah. Necrons. The Necron characters proved to be pretty good. Maybe I'll want to check one more out. You know what I'm saying? Like one more character out. Maybe Orikin, only because he was the one that told everybody don't wish on the monkey's paw, and they went ahead and and roboticized him first. They were like, "Shut this fool up, roboticize him." Oh man, threw him into the roboticizer and told Robotnik to flip the switch before he changes everybody's minds and ruined the plan. Oh man, so yeah, this is definitely a well fleshed out faction. Quite honestly, very diverse group of characters. There is a level of good. That's why I say neutral good. They definitely seem to be on the neutral good side, and I say neutral good because they could still do cruel things. They could still do cruel things, but they have self-awareness of themselves, and you know, self-awareness of themselves. That they have goals. They have individuality. You know what I'm saying, and they're very interesting. They're very fascinating and interesting from what I'm seeing here. So yeah, yeah. Try and see what more is out there of the Necrons before moving on to the next faction. So yeah, I gotta say, lucky. Doing a major overhaul on them was lucky. Because from what I've been hearing, it was supposed to be disastrous, but it doesn't seem to be that disastrous. So there we go. Head on over to Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. Grab yourself a copy of The Impossible Man, a strange fantasy novel written by me. You'll find links to the book down in the description below, along with links to other merch such as pins, stickers, t-shirts, music. Enjoy the products. Thank you for your patronage. And if you have a copy of The Impossible Man, and did a YouTube video on it, thank you very much. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on it. And finally, if you are interested, you can join me on my live multi-stream on Twitch and Kick every evening, weeknights. I can't say every evening. At night, where I do lore research, Japanese cultural studies, gaming, and more. I look forward to hanging out with you. So until the next round of Warhammer Research, thank you all for joining me, and I wish you all a good night. Buenas noches, and oyasumi nasai.